Yak Gadget, made in America, based outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Yak Gadget offers all kinds of storage accessories, quick mount motor mounts, anchor systems, track mounted accessories, even paddles. Go to yakgadget.com and get your kayak decked out for your next trip out on the water.
The 153 Bait Company, based in Troy, Ohio, make everything from plastics to custom painted hard baits. Hook 'em hard and hook 'em often. All of our baits are made to order, and all of our hard baits are hand painted to order. So go to the153anglers.com to place your order today.
Based in Santa Ana, California, Bioenno Power provides the highest performance lithium ion phosphate batteries for the marine market. These batteries are 1/4 the weight of sealed lead acid batteries, provide over 2,000 to 3,000 charge cycles, and a 10+ year service life. These batteries can be used for any deep cycle application, including running fish finders, trolling motors, live wells, and LED lights. For more information, visit bioennopower.com. That's BIOENNOPOWER.com or contact dealers nationwide.
Welcome to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. This is the final cast segment with your hosts Brad Hicks and Josh Eldridge, where we cast our final opinions on all products, good and bad. Welcome to the final cast. You're listening to the final cast on the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. I'm Brad. Josh isn't in the room yet. I don't know where he is, but he's 10 minutes late. So I'm starting the show without him. And he might join mid, so we'll see. But if not, it's all good. We got a cool episode. We're going to be talking Atollas. Did I pronounce that right?
Atollas? Yeah, you did great.
Oh, awesome. I didn't ask you before, and I have a bad habit of doing that.
No, it's Atollas.
Okay, Atollas sunglass retainers. Welcome to the show, Shea. We talked on Instagram for the first time a few weeks ago, I believe, right?
That's right. Yep, that's right.
Yeah, yeah. You reached out and you were like, "Hey, I want to get these in your guys' hands to try them out." And I was like, "This is perfect because we have a product review show where we talk about products and highlight products." So, yeah, man, welcome to the show.
Brad, it's an absolute pleasure, man. I really appreciate you giving me the time to talk to you.
Yeah. Let's start out letting us know a little bit about you, a little bit about the company, how you guys got started, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name is Shea. I designed the Atollas floating eyewear keepers, or retainers for those of you guys who, they're known as croquis, retainers, whatever you want to call them. But anyway, long story short, I'm an avid angler, fly fisherman, conventional fisherman, kayak angler, paddleboard angler. I'm always out there on the water. I've lost more than a few pairs of sunglasses over the years. And there was just one time about 8 years ago where I just got this brand new pair of Costa del Mars, and I was super stoked about them. And my eyesight's horrible, and so they're prescription glasses, and so I was super excited about having sunglasses that were a prescription. First day took them out, went for a paddle, and a boat passed by me around a corner of a creek and hit me with some wake, and lost my balance. I was on a paddleboard at the time, and those 500 plus prescription sunglasses fell to the bottom of the Keeler River, and I was so mad. And so I paddled back and I said, all right, that's it. Cause I always they had a retainer on them. I had a normal, silicone retainer or something like that. And they fell off the top of my head and got into the water. So they didn't help me any. And so I said, all right, I'm out here all the time. I need to get a pair of floating eyewear retainers. And so I was like, let me just go on the internet, see what's out there, and just buy a pair. And that's when I realized that there is no really good option for a floating retainer system out there. I looked at different companies, different options, and they just were clunky, ill-conceived, like just kind of like an afterthought. Like, hey, let's take a retainer, and just throw like a massive, piece of foam or something on it and just call it a day. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to wear these. I look kind of like a goofball. And, and then as the more research I did, all the reviews were saying like, hey, they didn't even work. I put them in my glasses, they fell off, and they still sunk. So I said to myself, you know what, I think I can, just kind of as most like entrepreneurial stories go, it's like, you just kind of like, hey, I think I can do this better. I know there's other people like me who want like a performance level option for a floating retainer system, and I felt like there was enough of a market there for it. if someone would actually just take the time and, do the research and build out a pro level grade retainer system that floats. So that's what I set off doing. I have a background in design. And so I just started doing research and looking at materials and looking towards different inspiration as far as design goes, which it wanted to be sleek, organic. It had to be light. It had to be non-conducive. It had to not retain water. It had to do a lot of really important things, but most importantly, float a large majority of sunglasses. Not just like, oh, I'll buy a pair of floating retainers, but it's only going to float up to like 30 something grams, which is like 50%, 60% of sunglasses. And so since I'm a fisherman, I'm usually wearing, more of the nylon frames with glass lenses. They're on the heavier side. Yeah. More expensive sunglasses tend to weigh, 37 to 50 grams in weight. So that's what I set off to do, is to build essentially the ultimate floating hour retainer system for the water. And after about, honestly, 7 or 8 years, this is a long process of doing the research, the development, trying to find the right manufacturer, testing prototypes, testing different sizes, trying to find the right size to buoyancy ratio, because it couldn't be too big, can't be too small because it's got to float the glasses, and the materials need to be just the right combination of performance, toughness, and buoyancy. And so what we have now is the floating hour retainer, which is right here. This is the final product. So anyway, that's the story of Atollas. And we launched last year. We're only about a year old, and based in Charleston, South Carolina.
The design makes sense now that you explained it to me. Because when I first got mine right here. When I first got it, I was like, that's kind of big. I wonder why it's so big. But after you explain that, it makes a lot more sense with these glass lenses and, all the high-end cost of glass lenses and everything.
Mm-hmm. And they're huge. You know what I mean? And sorry, guys, for being late. Somebody was picking up a trailer. I was just talking about this with somebody else on the phone. We were talking about the design of this, and I was like, he was like, why is the float section so big? And I said, well, you got to think about like a pair of Costas, and some of those Costas are huge, man. Like, it's a lot of plastic. And if you put something too small in there, man, it's still going to potentially pull that float underwater. And, it's a cool design. Cause at first I was worried about it, bothering me on the back of my neck. I was like, cause that's pretty big. And I was really kind of surprised, though, once I put them on and I fished with them, that it wasn't the amount of weight that I thought I would feel on the back of my neck. It definitely wasn't even close. Cause when I first saw it, I was like, I think that thing's that's big, man. I'm going to be able to feel that all day. But once I just put them on, I'm like, wow, that's really not as, I just didn't feel the pressure that I thought I would feel from the actual float. So
yeah, no, Josh, I'm happy you said that. And that was the biggest, and that's one thing where as we grow as a company, we know that, hey, this is not going to be for this first version. It's not going to be for everyone, right? Yeah. It really was designed, number one, to float virtually all sunglasses. That was the number one thing. But the number two thing, they're pretty much number one both. It was comfort. I'm just as an avid angler and waterman as anyone else out there who's going to use them. And so comfort was the biggest thing for me. So even I was just figuring out the size of this was a labor of love, because it's like, all right, this needs to be as small as possible, because I don't want anything big either. And so this final size was really designed to float up to 50 grams, which was the biggest we were willing to go. There's no way we're going to go any bigger than that. That covers plenty of sunglasses, but we made sure that lightness was a key. So these are less than half an ounce in weight. And we made sure that the length of the keepers, the actual length from end to end, is 18 inches, which we found was the perfect length to rest it right at the nape of your neck. So it just sits there. And what I usually say to people is, hey, listen, it may look a little big. Go out there, give it a shot. Just give it a day. And you'll find that after a day of using them, you're going to get used to them. They're totally fine. And guess what? Your sunglasses are locked in, because you're going to be thankful that you had them when those things do hit the water.
Yeah.
I didn't test mine. I didn't want to do that, but I have. No,
Are you serious?
I didn't throw them in the water. I was like, all right, so this is funny.
Non-believer.
No, this is funny though. He sent these to me the day that I got my first ever Costas. I'm like, these are nice sunglasses. I don't. I was like, I ain't about to go in the lake and throw them in there. You know,
You could have like found somewhere shallow at least.
I know,
Like-
but
I'll give you the Atollas guarantee that they will
No.
float.
I have no doubt it floats because I did throw it in the sink
Mhm.
without the sunglasses on it, so it does float.
You got to do it with the glasses, bro. You
I
got to
know,
put some weight on it.
man. I know. I'm just saying. I just got nervous, but
I tested them with a pair of Oakleys. I mean, like I've had these Oakleys probably for years. I'm pretty good actually with sunglasses. I'm like the one person who is. I don't know why. You just get lucky. When I drop them, I've always dropped them in like 3 inches of water, and they're still right there. So, but I tested them, and it definitely held up to them. The one part that I did, I'm not saying that I dislike, but was where you would put in the the arm of your glasses where they wrap around your ear right here.
Okay.
And with the style of sunglasses I have, which are just the Oakley 5 squared, that part is kind of a little on the wide side. It's not like anything obnoxious. Like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with like the Oakley gas cans. Those things are super wide, but mine's not as bad, but mine only go in like, I don't know, like maybe like a 3/4 of an inch into there. And it kind of, it didn't feel like, here's the thing though. I wish it would have went in further, but I don't think that it would have come off. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like, it was weird. Like it was just kind of like a peace of mind, I guess, kind of thing to just make sure. But I would take it and put my like one, put it in there like this. And I try to get it to come out. I even like kind of try to fling it out, and like it didn't come off like at all. So
Josh, I can share with you a bit. There was actually a purposeful design in the connector ends with exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The biggest complaint I found, I looked at hundreds of Amazon and other company reviews of all the floating outer retainers out there. And I thought the biggest complaint would be like, oh, they didn't float, or hey, they're too big or clunky. And those comments were there. There are also a lot of comments where they're super bright and obnoxious, like neon yellow, neon green. And that's why I went for more like the neutral color palette. But the biggest complaint I saw was, hey, when my glasses fell off, it's not the float that failed, it was the connection piece that failed.
Yeah.
And so what we designed was actually a Chinese finger trap like system here, where there's an air pocket. So when you have the grip here, there's actually air within the pocket here. So if you pull on the silicone band, all of this tension is going back here, not here. And so that way it displaces and it's locked in, even though it's only about maybe like a few centimeters on, maybe a bit more.
Yeah.
And that's what's causing that. The more you pull, the tighter it gets.
Cool.
That was I'm on the opposite side of Josh here. That's my favorite part about these is how well it held my glasses, because I have some Costa white tips, and they're kind of diamond shaped in the end. It slides over pretty good, but it holds them nicely.
Yeah, I didn't have any issue with them coming off. That wasn't.
Yeah,
I didn't have an issue. I just was like, and it really wasn't like a big problem. It was just at first I was like not knowing like what he just told me, the design of what it's working, how it works. I was like, oh, that doesn't go in there very far, but it's also the style of sunglasses I have. You know what I mean? So it's just that is what it is. I mean, but at the same time though, I had no issues or worries that it was going to come out, once I messed around with it. But that initial part, I was like, oh, that doesn't go in very far. And I kind of got afraid. I was like, if I shove this on any further, I mean, this material seems super durable where the connector is. I didn't think that it would have an issue as far as like splitting, but I also didn't want to push my luck and split it. So
totally.
But because I can't tell if that's two pieces or if that's just like a seam from the manufacturing where the connector is?
So that's a seam from the mold that they use to create
Okay.
that. That's just a seam. So it's done split. And Josh, if you did, these keepers have a lifetime warranty. So if they did split or break for any reason, you send them back, I'll replace them for free, no questions asked.
Very cool.
Nice.
Man.
That's cool. I like that. Going back to these, the little part that holds them here, I'll show everybody here. It has your guys' emblem here on the side. Pretty cool.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The thing I don't like about other sunglass retainers, they're not comfortable. I didn't have an issue with these. These are nice. They feel nice and comfortable right against your ears, even with the hat on, pressing down. You know,
That's always good for me to hear because I'm a big hat guy as well, and so that was a big concern for me. Was when I'm wearing them, I can also wear because I have a tiny head, and so normally my sunglass ends are going underneath my hat, and I found that they work pretty well. That being said, I do personally in the next generation of these, I do want to taper down the ear ends to keep them more sleek and more low profile. So that way, for those people who do like to kind of have their ear ends underneath the hat, that there is more room for that to fit.
Yeah, like a more flatter profile for the connection.
You got it. Absolutely. It'd be more of a flatter profile.
I can't tell you how many times I've gone through like a pair of Chums or something. I'm like, oh, these drive me nuts.
I just fished next to a guy the other day that had a bobber float. The other one, and the bobber was about almost this big, and that was on his. He built a tether system, and I was like,
tether system.
And I was like, dude, what is that? And he showed me, and I was like, it was just kind of weird because that was the day I was testing these out. You know what I mean? And I was like, it's just weird that I happen to be testing these, and I just ran across my homemade one, and I was like, that's pretty funny, dude. I was like, it's a good idea, like.
It's funny. It's funny, Josh. Like I found that, I see more people out there with like their own like homemade version of the floating keeper than I do like an actual like the Croquis version or the Chums version or the Cables version. And nothing against them, by the way. I see more of what you said, like someone's like drilled a hole through like a big foam cork bobber or something like that, and that's like kind of their solution. And my guess is because aesthetically the other stuff out there just turns them off. It's just too kind of like hokey and bright and obnoxious. And my goal is to just take this like, hey, if people need it, people are doing it, let's try to develop a really high level sleek pro grade version of it, so that way people who are like the kayak anglers and professionals and everyone those avid watermen and women, they have an option out there, as opposed to trying to like, well, I can either regular retainers or I can look like a goofball and hope my sunglasses still work with this stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
It's I was kind of, to be honest with you, I was surprised at the neutral color choice, and only because of exactly what you're kind of talking about. I think everybody's first inclination when they manufacture something for water sports is, if I do drop it, will it easily be seen? And I think it's where that's the first kind of thing is, all right, well, let's make this construction orange or high vis green, and then we can be able to see it like right away. So it's really not a bad idea, but overall though, there's a lot of people in the fishing game. People are getting more and more well dressed. You know what I mean? So it's like I want to wear a bobber on the back of my head.
The sporting gent.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny.
It's true though. I mean,
it is.
I mean, Brad, I'm going to tell. All right, let me just tell this story. When I first met Brad and I saw him win a tournament, he was wearing the same exact pants that he wears to work every day, and they were covered in paint. And now Brad looks like he's been fishing the FLW for a while, and he's all dressed and he's got logos here and there, and but
yeah, I got to look like a professional, man.
I do remember Brad's at this tournament and he's walking up, and I'm like, look at this dude, and he's like, his pants have paint splatter, and I'm not talking about like a little bit, like from head to toe paint splatter, like.
Yep.
I'm like this, but I like that. I like people who don't care about that stuff. It's cool. Like, you know, it is what it is. It's just fishing. You don't have any, you know, your style has nothing to do with your skill as an angler, right, Brad?
I guess. No, I'm
Well, I mean, you won the tournament, so
yeah.
but yeah, it's I like the option of having this, but to be honest with you, probably having the option if somebody is worried about a high vis thing, that's not necessarily a bad one. You know, I just
Definitely
don't
not
think
a bad
I
idea.
don't think they all, you know, I think it's cool that you're given the options of different colors. You know,
Yeah.
that's the big thing.
No, and I definitely appreciate the comment too, because there definitely is a need for a high visibility option like a neon orange or whatever. Like, what I did first when I first started out, and I knew that I was going to have, okay, I'm going to decide on the colorways I want to go with. I was trying to look for ways that I was like, I just want this to be just different, unique in every way possible. And I knew that colorways were a great way to kind of have a different offering out there. And I wanted to do something to where, hey, I can have more subtle, more like neutral colorways that are still bright and visible. You know, they don't have to be neon orange or neon yellow. They can still be seen when the sunglasses are lost. Because in my experience, every time I lost my sunglasses, I literally was right there within half a second, knowing where they were and where to grab. Now, that doesn't count. That's not for everybody, right? So what I did is I asked around. I talked to a lot of people in the fishing community, in the paddleboarding community, et cetera, and all asked like, you know, hey, does it need to be a bright color? What do you think of this? And the vast majority surprisingly said, no, I don't like that. And so that kind of was the driver behind the decision for the colorways. You know, and I think that definitely like having a high vis option is definitely something I want to explore in the future for those people who do need that, who want that extra insurance, so to speak, for it, you know?
Yeah, I think where you would see that excel the most, it'd be for people like Brad and I who are river guys.
Or coastal waters.
Yeah, where you're going to have a lot of current movement in your water. So if you dump, you know, a lot of times it's a yard sale at that point with all your gear floating around. And so, like, you know, those sunglasses are probably going to actually be one of the later things that somebody's going to be trying to grab for. And
that's a great point.
So like, just, you know, if you're a river guy, you know, you may want to have something that you may be able to see kind of, you know, 25 yards away or whatever. But I don't know.
I'm taking notes right now. This is good stuff.
There you go. No, I think that's why I went with the gray and the blue, just because it was more neutral. It matches more of my hats. That was my thinking.
See, I love it. I love the guy who wore the paint pants now is color coordinating his eyeglass floats with his sunglasses.
I know, man.
Put fashion before function.
I love it, dude.
People are going to listen to this and they're going to be like, man, that guy's weird.
No, they're not. Because, yeah, dude, there's a lot of people that do it.
Yeah.
So you are not the only one. There's a lot of well-dressed fishermen. So, I mean, we see it on our websites. People make fun of those guys. So all the time, like, oh, you know, Mr. Patagonia with his fly rod over here, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, who cares? Why? I mean, the worst part, I really don't care what anybody wears. I wear Columbia stuff. I like to look, you know, I don't mind wearing nice stuff on the water, but I wear stuff that's high performance. So something like this has a high performance value to it. So anything that I buy, I don't really care. I'm not one to be like, oh, I wear expensive stuff. I just find something that works. If it works and it lasts and it costs, you know, a little bit extra money, I'm going to buy it. I'd rather buy it one time and then not have to buy, you know, a new shirt, you know, fishing shirts every year over and over and over again because the color faded or they ripped holes in it or whatever the issue may be. So, you know, I always kind of laugh at that. I'm like, who cares? It's all about comfort. You know, if somebody wants to wear Patagonia fishing shirts and, you know, gear, you know, I'm like, that company does well for a reason. And it's because they make really good fly fishing shit. Like, who cares? Like, what, you know what I mean? Like, if somebody wears it, why does it bother you? And why do you notice? That's what I always wanted to know. That's the best part. As a person that says it, you're like, so the fact that you're coming on here and saying something about people dressing like that, yet you notice it. So that makes you part of the problem then at that point. So.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But yeah, I think things like this are a great addition. Like Shea, we've gotten to talk to a lot of people, and what's been cool is with the kayak fishing industry and it being fairly still on the new side and still growing a lot. It's cool to see new products come out, whether or not they are aimed at kayak anglers in general or not, but when you find products like this that can benefit our community and stuff like that, it's always cool to see. It's cool to see just different takes on stuff too and better improvements.
Oh yeah, I mean, and John, I definitely agree with that. It's this was made primarily for the people who are most connected to the water, which in my opinion is paddlers, kayakers, paddleboarders, etc. I'm really kind of, you mentioned earlier, like you like to get one good thing and one good thing well, and have it like last for a while. I'm from the same kind of cloth there. And I also like things super simple. I don't like to have a lot of things on me. I like when I go hit the water, I've got my sunglasses, my PFD, a whistle, and my fishing, and I'll have my fishing rod, whether it's a conventional rod or a fly rod. But I won't even, there's guys, they're gearheads who will have like the sling bags and like the tackle boxes. And I'm like, I'm going to choose 2 or 3 lures, and that's what I'm going to use today. If they work, great. If they don't, I don't care. No big deal. And I just knew that, like, since the sunglasses are like one of the most important pieces out there, no matter what I'm doing, I needed something to protect them. And that's the fact that I can contribute. Like the kayak fishing community is really, I've only been around for a little under a year, or maybe a little over a year. Yeah, a little over a year. And I haven't been able to really, this is definitely a side hustle for me. I do have a full-time job. This is my passion project. And I'm just now starting to really get it out there. The kayak fishermen have really taken well to it, especially offshore kayak fishermen. They really, really like the product. They're surf launching, they're in rough waters, gets a little crazy and stuff. And so it's been really neat to really see like paddlers and kayak fishermen kind of start taking to this and be like, hey, this is a new thing that could benefit me and be a tool in my tool belt. So it's been cool, been really cool.
No, I completely agree. It seems like the kayak industry, like people in the kayak industry, they're more accepting to ideas. I don't really know how to explain it, but yeah.
Well, it's kind of like the problems that you see on kayaks where you don't see them on boats necessarily. You know what I mean? Or you may see them on boats, but you just, like Shea just explained, like you're not going to see the issue as pronounced, as far as he's saying, hey, we have more connection to the water as opposed to somebody that's on a big bass boat or a pontoon boat or whatever. You're closer to the water. So when you drop them, your percentage of landing in the water and disappearing is much, much, much higher than somebody that's on a boat, So, I mean, I've had the same 2 pair of Oakleys. I'm a huge fan of them. I don't even know that they make them anymore. I think they do, but they don't have the color options anymore for them. But I had a pair of non-polarized, and then I got a pair of polarized. And I lost my non-polarized ones from fishing on the GMR, Brad. Like I hooked a catfish, and I was trying to lean down to unhook it. And as soon as I did, I forgot I had taken my sunglasses off and put them on the bill of my hat, and it just slid off.
Oh, geez.
But it was like a slack water, but I was right next to a really sketchy kind of area where it was really big boulders and stuff that I was standing on. So I actually tried to reach down, but the hole that was probably like 5 feet deep, so I couldn't get to the bottom of it. So I just let them go.
Stinks.
It sucks.
I mean, it was all right. They were non-polarized, so they were the cheaper version. But and then I went and bought polarized and realized I was missing out for so long on fishing. Like as soon as I picked up a pair of polarized lenses, I was like, dude, it's like the OG fish finder, literally, to me. Polarized lenses were. I mean, this weekend I got to take my kids out, and they got to catch their first bass. And where we were fishing, is a fairly clear little pond lake thing, right? And I kept saying, "Hey, can you see that?" And they're like, "No, Daddy, like I can't see it." They could if it was relatively shallow, but they couldn't see past like that 3-foot mark. And so I was laughing because I was like handing my glasses over to him. Luckily, I had these on, but one of my little ones was with my buddy Mike, and he had a pair of Costas on, and I'm like, "Here, Colin, take my sunglasses, look through them, and look down in the water. You can see a turtle. And a turtle's like 15, feet down in the water, and he could see it." And Zach's like, "I want to see." And Mike's like, "Here, you can take mine." I'm like, "Mike, you might not want to do that, because my kids are like 5 and 3, so everything they touch, they either break it or drop it or throw it." So I was like, just make sure, you don't let them drop those things, dude. And but yeah, it was, it's a huge investment, really. But I think it's actually one of the most important investments you can make as an angler is to get a good quality pair of polarized lenses, And
oh man, I will turn if I get to a spot and I didn't have my sunglasses, I will turn right back around. I mean, I'm like, I'm spoiled by that. But that's like what you said earlier, Josh, about like the being connected to the water, like paddlers, like kayakers and stuff. There's so many more opportunities to lose your glasses. Like if you're on a boat, you're pretty much for the most part, you can lose your glasses, but you're surrounded by, deck and stuff like that. You can sit down and be within the boat. But like there's so many things you have to be aware of, and you're trying to manipulate and control that you'll just be doing something. Like you said, you just forgot that your sunglasses were up there or whatever, and you did something or you got knocked and they just fall in the water and it's right there. And I remember when I was on a paddleboard one time, this is the last pair of sunglasses I lost, I was on a paddleboard. There's this beautiful sunrise, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go. I want to take a picture of this." And I took off my glasses for some reason, and I wasn't wearing a retainer, and I put them on the bow of my paddleboard. And then I reached back around to get my camera, and then I turned back around, and my elbow like hits the sunglasses, knocks them right off. Just human error. Being clumsy, and clumsiness loses them, and it's just like God,
Yeah.
But yeah, so hopefully that never happens to me again. I would be very embarrassed if it happened to me and be like, okay,
they're like, "You're not allowed to buy sunglasses anymore" at that point. Like,
didn't you like invent something to fix this exact problem? Yeah, I did. Kind of embarrassing.
Yeah. So let's talk about the construction of it a little bit. What materials are used for the float, and what materials are used for the straps? So
for the I call these the tentacles. It's funny little side story. So the Atollas is actually inspired by the name of the Atollas jellyfish. The Atolla jellyfish is like this deep sea jellyfish, and it's got this bioluminescence and the deep midnight zone of the ocean. And I discovered when I was looking for like kind of my brand muse for the company, I was suggested that I look up these deep sea creatures because they have pretty unique names and pretty unique characteristics. And I came across the Atolla jellyfish, and the Atolla jellyfish actually inspired through like kind of a biomimicry type deal. It inspired the design of the keepers. So it's very sleek, organic form. This is the jellyfish body, and these are the tentacles. Okay. So when I say tentacles, that's what I mean. I don't even mean to sound weird.
You're good.
But yeah, so there you go, the Atollas jellyfish. So this part here, the tentacles, is made of medical grade silicone. So extremely elastic. We wanted to make sure that the elasticity wasn't too much give, but not too little give. It needed to be just the right amount where if I have them in my glasses, someone pulls them, they'll be resilient. And if I need to like pull them down or pull them off, they actually are you can see the range that you can pull these is pretty good. So that's non-conducive medical grade silicone. And then the floater, we went through a lot of different materials for this one. We actually started experimenting with bamboo. I thought that was it would be a really cool natural wood feel. It looking really good on paper. We started doing the prototyping, and we found out very quickly that bamboo is not as buoyant as you think. It's also quite heavy. And so we said quickly, no, let's not do that. And so what we discovered was it's patented this process because we basically took a high density EPS foam, very similar to the foam you'd find in those, those in docks with like the container decking with like the foam inside. This is the same exact material. And instead, we didn't want it to be porous, right? Like a bobber will be very porous and you can easily like, kind of punch your thumb into it and stuff.
Yeah.
What we did is we did a heat seal finish to seal it off. So that way it was non-porous, it would not retain water, and kind of really just solidify the product. And that's what makes it super light. And the actual buoyancy is created through the EPS foam. And actually there's more foam underneath each of these silicone. You'll see this cup here. There's more silicone within that cup. So it's actually a full, almost like oval egg shape. And these silicone pieces are cupping over each side.
Okay.
So that's how it's constructed there. So we chose the EPS foam for the seal it because of its non-porous ability. It's super light, super buoyant. And that's why we went with that particular material.
Yeah, that makes sense why, like I kind of dug my fingernail into it one day. I was like, oh, I wonder what that's made of. It makes sense now. But
what's the material that's over the foam?
Material that's over the foam. You mean
that's
like
the heated? Yeah.
Color.
That's the same. So that's literally the same material. It just has a heat treated finish.
Oh, okay. I got
EPS
you.
foam. Yeah. There's
I
no.
thought it was like a wrap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it was like formed over it. So that's cool. That's really durable because it seems like it's straight plastic. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it does.
And it's tough. Like I can't really squeeze this. Like, you know what I mean? Like you would say, if you took a foam bobber,
you kind of like thumb it in there, and you can put fingernail scratches in it. Yeah,
Yep.
that was. It's almost the same material. It was a specially selected foam because it was like we need the most buoyant foam there is that can take this treatment. So that really was like kind of the give and take.
I mean, you can mark it like Brad said, but I mean, that's us just messing with it and doing it on purpose.
I was just messing around.
like me taking my fingers and like squeezing it and stuff. I can't do that. Like you can obviously put like an edge into it or whatever and but that just means you're doing it to be an a-hole anyway. So we are. So like, but yeah, that's pretty amazing, man. Cause I honestly thought this was plastic. Like I thought it was plastic and it had air trapped inside and sealed off then at that point.
Yeah.
So
and it's funny, if you cut right through this with a knife, it is solid foam.
Okay. Awesome. That's cool. Is this something you construct in house or how does that work?
Yeah, so no, we have a manufacturer in China that we work with to get it made. It was all designed in South Carolina, all materials, everything selected. But we have a manufacturer in China that helps us out with the final build and assembly.
Okay. Cool.
Now with the tentacles when they connect to your foam, what are you guys using? Is it just glued on there, or is that like heated as well?
So it is a commercial grade waterproof glue that still surprises me every time I tug on this stuff. Because that was one when we first designed it and I got the prototype, that was a really big concern for me. Was like, well, if you're going to use glue, if I just pull hard enough, will it come off? And they were like, listen, you're going to be fine. Don't worry. And I was like, okay. And then I got like the field test prototype, which I basically just ran through hell. And I remember for like half an hour, I was pulling as hard as I could on the silicone as well as this. And I couldn't break anything. It's really hard to break this.
Yeah, it feels like this would break before this connection would come off.
Yeah, and it still would take.
Or you would shoot yourself in the eye with it on accident.
Absolutely. You can have a lot of fun with friends. You can just kind of like, let me see your arm, snap.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, I was kind of I was really impressed with that because I kind of messed around with that. I'm like, dude, it looks like it would come off like easily, but it doesn't. And I'm like, I sat there and pulled on this. I'm like, I feel like the tentacle is gonna rip before that connection comes loose.
Yeah, they're extremely durable. Really happy with the way they came out. But like I said again, like I really wanted to back up like the durability and the performance of these things. And so yeah, again, if they ever break, if you go to atollas.co/warranty, you can see the entire warranty process and just send them back. Share everything what happened, and let's get you a new pair so you get back out in the water and not losing that pair of shades.
Yeah, and it's cool that you're, being receptive to people's, like ideas and like questions and stuff, because, it's always important to if you have a product that you're coming out with, especially if you have something a new design of something, it's only going to help you guys grow is getting that input from customers, because like I'm not trying to tear this thing apart. Like I don't, I think it's a good idea. At first, I was a little taken back by it, to be honest, like the size of it. But the good thing is you have enough knowledge in your product to be like, well, this is why it's like that. You know what I mean? And now it makes sense. Like, but like at first glance, somebody could be like, oh man, that's kind of not gaudy, but it's just kind of big. Like it's kind of clunky a little bit. But that's when Brad first handed it to me, I'm like, dude, I'm going to hate these things. I literally, to be honest, I was like, I'm going to hate these things because I don't like stuff back here. Like, I don't even like when my life jacket starts to push up on my neck from my seat. And that was kind of the only issue I ever had with these was like, but that was my own fault from not having my life jacket tight down around the bottom. And I was kind of actually leaning the seat back, relaxing kind of thing. And when I would turn my head, like that top padding, because we have on the fishing kayak angler type jackets, you got that padding and it sits high to avoid your seat. And,
sure.
So but that's not this product's issue. That is the way the design of everything and I'm wearing is, but honestly, I was like, I'm not going to like it. And then I wore it and I was like, dude, that's really, really lightweight. Like on my neck. I thought like it was going to bug me uncontrollably. And I was completely shocked at how comfortable it wasn't on sitting on the back of my neck.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brad. Sorry.
I was just going to share the picture here because I did it earlier and I didn't get a chance to let people know. If you're listening, go to YouTube, check this out. I got this picture pulled up. That's what it looks like from behind.
And that was that was the biggest thing, obviously besides buoyancy, but was size and comfort. Was this going to be, because like I said, I'm the exact same way as you. I do not want something big and bulky in the back of my neck, but I need something to float my glasses. That's the biggest issue I was trying to solve. And so when we designed these, it really was, how do we provide maximum performance and keep these as small and minimal, as sleek as possible? So we got the floater as small as we could get it to float a good amount of sunglasses. And so we really started leaning on lightness and say, hey, listen, get it on there. It's gonna be very light on your neck. You're barely getting, I promise you, after a day of fishing or a day on the water, you're barely gonna notice it. And we've gotten conversions left and right of just like, man, these things are awesome. But they said the same thing you did, Josh, which is something that I need to work on as a company, because if it's not passing the eyeball test, like at a retailer or a store or anything like that, where someone's looking at it and saying, oh, that looks too big, I'd never wear that, then they'll never know that it's actually a really great product. So, that's why I'm talking to you guys, right? That's why, when I sent it to you and Josh, or you and Brad, that like, hey, just give them a shot. Give them a go. See, and if you don't like them, I understand. But hey, listen, I think you're really gonna dig them, being in the kayak angling and being how close to the water you are.
But I mean, to be honest with you, Shea, like, there's a lot of stuff though that doesn't pass an eye test, but it has great functionality, and it's cool. It works out. Like, I mean, to be honest with you, like my PFD is obnoxious. I mean, it's bulky as hell. It's got 1,000 pockets. It is the most uncomfortable thing, but I also know that it's there for a reason, and that's to keep me from drowning, and so I deal with it. This is minute compared to the uncomfortableness of a life jacket when it's 90 degrees outside and you're wearing long sleeves and pants, and that kind of thing. So it's really not that big of a deal. It was just like, that was my own personal kind of first thing about it. But if anybody's listening, do give these a shot, because I am honestly, like, I was very skeptical about how this was going to feel. And I was completely shocked at the comfort level that I didn't think existed in these things. Like, I was just like, I put them on and I was like, all right, here we go. And I was like, man, that's not bad at all. Like, it didn't bother me like I thought it was going to at all. And I mean, really, like, overall, it's like that foam is so lightweight. I mean, to be honest with you, I think the tentacles, and to me, feel like they weigh more at the connection points than what the actual foam piece does.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, the whole tentacle, like, connectors and everything definitely felt heavier to me than what that is. And you won't feel that when that's connected to your glasses. So anyway, so
that's right. No, I really appreciate that, Josh. Thanks.
Me and Josh definitely know what being uncomfortable in the water is like, because here in Ohio, we wear dry suits in the wintertime when we're on the river. And those are not comfortable at all.
No, not at all. Like, unless you're really into weird, kinky, like, stuff, like, dude, like, it, like, I laughed at Brad because I watched him. I'm like, dude, are you okay? And he's like, no,
I can't breathe.
No, dude. Like, he's like, this is killing me. Like, and and I still can't stand to wear that thing. Like, too, man, it's obnoxious. It chokes you to death. It feels like, and it's funny because the guys at NRS, and don't get me wrong, it's like that for a reason. And their products are top notch at NRS. I love their stuff. I love their sun shirts. I have their knives. I have their hats, you name it. I've got their life jacket, dry suit, but that thing, they were like, you'll get used to it. And I'm like, I don't think so. Like, honestly, I'm not sure about that. I'm like, unless I'm out there every day during the entire wintertime fishing, like, it's the only way I think I will work through this, man, because I've had it for we've had it for 2 winters now, and I'm like, nope, still not used to it. Like,
it's the third season where you really start getting used to everything. So
still settling in. Fine. Well, you guys got it. Yeah, let's talk about any other products you guys have on your website.
Yeah, so I really did want to also start developing, kind of a lifestyle brand around this. There are, I do have, like, hats, tees, sun masks, stickers, stuff like that. And as what I'm trying to do is, there's really, as we expand, the first thing we want to do is, we'd love to come out with a we have our flagship floating hour keepers. And then I would love to come out with a smaller version, kind of like a micro version, right? So for sunglasses that aren't as heavy, so you can get away with a smaller retainer, smaller floater, etc. And I think there is a big niche in the market for that. So that way you've got your standard eyewear retainers for your bigger eyewear, and then you can get a smaller pair for lighter eyewear. So that way you can kind of match it up that way. Go ahead.
Quick question: is there going to be some kind of chart that you guys will make available to people to make sure it's compatible with their sunglasses?
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that I've actually been working on for the past couple of weeks now. Before we did this, I wanted to. One of the things I had to learn was, what are the heaviest pairs of sunglasses in the world? So, because that was gonna be my baseline, right? I had to be like, okay, I want this to float all eyewear. That's kind of the thing I want to happen. And so where can I find the heaviest pair of sunglasses? And so I needed to understand and do research on, like, well, how much does sunglasses really weigh? And what does 50 grams look like? What does 40 grams look like? What does 30 grams look like, et cetera? So I actually went to a sunglass shop one day with a scale, and I went up to them, and, I remember I didn't want to, give away my idea or whatever. And that's kind of silly. It's kind of silly looking back. It's like, no one's going to steal your eyewear retainer idea. Don't worry about it. And I said, hey, listen, I'm doing a science project for my cousin, and I need to weigh a lot of sunglasses. Is that okay with you? And she was like, okay, that's fine. And so I started just basically pulling the heaviest pairs of sunglasses I could find and started weighing them on the scale. And they just were all really interested. And so they just all started working for me and started bringing me sunglasses. Hey, try these. Here, try these. Here, try these. And I was like, y'all are making this way easier for me. Thank you. Making me look like this is actually like part of like the deal.
What you need to do is bring your product back to that store and be like, hey, this is what I made with my
with your
scientific evidence.
It's funny. They were the shop that I went into to test them out or to find out all the weight of the sunglasses. They were my very first retailer, so they actually carry Atollas. Awesome. Yeah, very first one. Cool. I told them that story. They were like, "Are you kidding me? Like, you could have just like told me, just say what you're really doing, man." I was like, "I know."
That's funny. That's cool though.
Yeah, it makes for a really good relationship with them. It was like a funny kind of bonding story, like in a weird way.
Yeah.
But I also am starting to get into like just different like knickknacks for on the water, and little tools and gear. And I'm a fly fisherman, and I don't have a boat. I'm usually waiting. I'm in Charleston, so if I'm going for redfish, I'm usually waiting in the flats during a flood tide. Or I love bass fishing. I bass fish every day, and I'll just be like pond hopping and just fishing from shore, etc. And I usually carry almost nothing with me. I have my fly rod, and I usually keep flies and stuff in my hat or even my pocket. And that's just, you tear your hat up, you get stuff in your pocket. A lot of fly fishermen do that. And so I was like, well, I'm not carrying a whole box around with me. I don't want the sling bags and stuff. I would love if there was just like a little kind of credit card size kind of fly patch that I could clip to my shirt or hat or whatever that could hold my go-to flies. And then when I was done with it, I could have a dock of some kind that I could slip it in that could be on a cooler of some kind, or a cooler, boat console, the car visor, and then just be as a kind of your as a dry dock for your flies. And then when you're ready to go, it's kind of just grab and go. Grab it, clip it onto your shirt, and go.
Yeah.
And so I've been developing that, and this is kind of the prototype here. I know this is fly fishing stuff, but this is kind of like the prototype of, this is the actual fly caddy. This is an EVA foam patch that the flies go on.
Okay.
And it actually has a clip, if you can see it, like that can clip to a belt, your hat. And then this is the actual silicone dock that's got a slip in it that this clip goes into, and it has adhesive on the back so it could stick to your cooler or whatever. So it's just a neat little kind of go-to fly caddy for kind of your go-to fly. So just kind of your grab and go missions. So
yeah,
that's kind of the next on deck.
Are you familiar with the brand Jackson Kayak?
I am, yes.
So they have a Mayfly, which is one of their kayaks that was geared towards fly anglers, and they have like a pad like that on the inside of their kayaks. It's kind of cool. I was like, that's a neat idea, and I like the fact that you kind of thinking that like, how can I make this mobile? So, instead of having like 6 flies at the same thing attached to all these different areas that you might be an angler, now you can be taking that set of flies with you. It doesn't matter, It's a cool idea.
Literally what I'll do is I'll get out of my car, I'll pick my flies, put them on here, and just, if I'm wearing this shirt, I can do that. I can put it on my pocket here and then just be ready to go. And that's it. So that's all I carry with me. I don't carry my hat or my pot or, my pockets or anything. So it's just a neat little tool that I've found extremely handy that I use every day. So I'm looking to bring it to market hopefully soon.
Awesome. That's cool. Well, I think we pretty much hit everything with this episode. It was fun.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Oh, pleasure's on my side, guys. Josh, Brad, I had an absolute blast. Lots of fun. And really just appreciate you giving me just the chance to share Atollas and the story, and just getting the product out there to the fellow kayak anglers and paddlers and fishermen out there who lost a pair or two and don't want that to happen anymore.
Yeah, for sure. You want to let everybody know where they can follow Atollas, follow you if you have any social media or anything?
Yeah, I'd love for some followship for sure. My Instagram is at Atollas Gear, ATOLLASGEAR. That would have been embarrassing. At Atollas Gear on Instagram, and then my website is atollas.co, ATOLLAS.co.
Awesome. Well, good episode. Thanks again for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man, and keep up the good work.
No, I appreciate it, guys. And Brad, Josh, if you guys are okay, I'll keep up with you guys on, if I come up with new products, new stuff, I'd love to get your thoughts on them.
I was gonna say, if you could come out with something else, let us know. We'll bring you back on. We've had multiple guests come back on the show and talk. So
that'd be an honor, guys. I really appreciate it.
Not a problem, man. Well, everybody, thanks again for listening. Brad, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Nope.
All righty. Well, we will see you all next week. Take care.
See ya.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode on Paddle and Fin. Don't forget to go check out our website at paddle_and_fin.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel at Paddle and Fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest on a future episode, feel free to email us at paddle_and_fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Paddle and Fin on Facebook and Instagram. Shout out to our show supporters, Angler. The Angler button and app just makes for a better time on the water and creates a virtual logbook for every fishing outing out on the water. Shout out to Rocktown Adventures, located in northern Illinois, for all your kayaking, camping, and hiking needs. Shout out to Jig Masters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com